Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are taking a deep dive into probably the most complex and fascinating machine on the entire planet, you. We're going to explore the hidden realities of your own mind and body, from debunking myths you've probably believed your whole life to uncovering some wild psychological tricks that influence your daily decisions. So, here's what we've got lined up. We'll start by busting some major biological myths. Then, we'll get into the bizarre world of phobias. After that, we'll look at a super rare neurological condition that honestly sounds like something straight out of a fairy tale. Then, we're going to uncover some psychological tricks that work on all of us, and we'll finish up with the fascinating science of how we remember it all. All right, first up, let's challenge some of the things you probably think are rock-solid facts about your own body. I mean, think about it. We're constantly told stuff about how our bodies work, by gym coaches, online articles, even our parents. But as it turns out, some of the most common facts we all know, they're completely wrong. Okay, let's start with an absolute classic, one that's fueled countless sci-fi movies. It's this idea that we all have this vast, untapped 90% of our brain just sitting there, waiting to be unlocked. And you know what? This analogy from our source material absolutely nails it. The reality is, you use pretty much all of your brain over the course of a day, just not all at once. Having all your neurons fire at the same time isn't enlightenment, it's a seizure. Here's another one you hear all the time, especially at the gym. This idea that you can somehow turn fat into muscle. Well, the truth is they are two completely different types of cells. You can absolutely burn fat to get the energy to build muscle, but one can't just magically transform into the other. That's kind of like trying to turn wood into steel. It just doesn't work that way. For the longest time, the dominant belief, even in science, was that we're basically just walking, talking microbe colonies, that we are vastly outnumbered by our bacterial guests. The whole idea was we were more them than us. But it turns out that new research has completely busted this myth. The actual ratio is much, much closer to 1-to-1. So yeah, you're about as much you as you are bacteria. It's a much more balanced partnership than we ever thought. Okay, so let's shift gears from our physical bodies to the inner workings of our minds. And let's start with one of our most primal, powerful emotions, fear. So what exactly is a phobia? Because it's not just being scared of something. I mean, we're all scared of things that can actually hurt us, right? A phobia is an intense, often life-disrupting fear that goes way beyond a normal response to danger. And yeah, we all know the usual suspects: spiders, heights, snakes, enclosed spaces. These are the kinds of fears that might even have evolutionary roots, helping our ancestors stay away from real threats. But trust me, the world of phobias gets much stranger than that. I mean, get this: arachibutyrophobia. This isn't a fear of peanut butter itself, but the very specific sensation of it getting stuck to the roof of your mouth. It might come from a fear of choking or just an extreme aversion to that sticky feeling. And this one is a perfect example of how a phobia can be tied to a sound. For someone with globophobia, the real fear isn't the balloon itself, it's the constant, tense anticipation of the pop. It can turn a birthday party from a celebration into total misery. And now for a fear that probably didn't even exist 20 years ago, nomophobia. It's that anxiety that kicks in when you can't find your phone, your battery's about to die, or you're out of service. That feeling of being totally disconnected from the world. And don't just brush this off. It is surprisingly common. One study found that nearly a quarter of male university students were actually nomophobic. And get this, on top of that, more than 3/4 of them checked their phones over 35 times a day. All right, let's move from common psychology to a rare and totally baffling neurological condition, one that completely alters a person's reality. It's almost like a real-life fairy tale gone wrong. Officially, it's called Kleine-Levin syndrome, but it's much better known as Sleeping Beauty syndrome, and for a very good reason. It causes people, mostly teenagers, to fall into these overwhelming sleep episodes that can last for weeks or sometimes even months. But here's the thing, it is not just about sleep. When patients are awake during an episode, they experience a whole range of bizarre symptoms: an insatiable appetite, extreme apathy, and this constant feeling that the world around them isn't quite real, almost like they're living inside a dream. This condition is incredibly rare. We're talking maybe one person in 500,000, which is why it's so difficult to study. Just imagine losing weeks or even months of your teenage years to this state. And the episodes are often triggered by something as common as the flu. It's just a devastating interruption to a young person's life. Okay, so we've gone from the extreme, let's bring it back to the everyday. Now that we've seen how the brain can go awry, let's explore some of the predictable and, frankly, exploitable quirks of how all of our minds work. Okay, here's a persuasion trick that is so powerful, it's called the door in the face technique, and I guarantee you've had it used on you without even realizing it. It totally plays on our innate sense of fairness.
It's actually pretty simple. You start by making a huge request that you know is going to be denied. When they say no, slamming the door in your face, you follow up with your smaller, actual request. And because it looks like you've made a concession, they feel this subconscious pressure to meet you halfway and agree to that second, more reasonable thing.
Now, this next one is one of the weirdest quirks of the human brain. It's called spontaneous trait transference. And basically, it means people subconsciously associate you with the words you use to describe other people. So if you're always calling other people generous and smart, people start to see you that way. The flip side, of course, is also true, so be careful. And finally, let's explore the very foundation of our identity, of our experience, our memory. Why is it that some things stick with us forever, while other things just vanish without a trace? Well, one of the biggest theories about forgetting is that our memories don't actually disappear forever. They just become inaccessible. Think of it like a book in a massive library that you can't find because you've lost the little call number slip. The book is still there, on a shelf somewhere, you just can't get to it. So those call numbers for our memories, they're called retrieval cues. And they can be external things, like the room you were in, or a particular smell in the air. Or they can be internal, like the mood you were in, or even whether or not you'd had a coffee. This shows just how powerful context is. There was this famous study where scuba divers learned a list of words while they were underwater. When they were tested later on land, their recall wasn't great. But when they were tested back underwater in the exact same context, their recall shot up by a massive 40%. And this leaves us with this incredible, kind of mind-blowing final thought. Your personal history, all of your experiences, they might not be erased by time. They might just be filed away, waiting for the right place, the right smell, or the right feeling to bring them all flooding back to life. So what memories are just waiting to be unlocked inside you?